January 26, 2020. What began as an ordinary Sunday morning would end as one of the darkest days in sports history. Kobe Bryant, five-time NBA champion, Oscar winner, devoted father, spent his final hours doing what had become his greatest passion, being Gigi's dad and coach. That morning, Kobe and his 13-year-old daughter Gianna boarded a helicopter bound for the Mamba Sports Academy. Gigi had a game to play, and Kobe was going to coach. It was a routine they had perfected, father and daughter chasing basketball dreams together. The helicopter lifted off at 9:06 a.m. By 9:47 a.m., all 9 souls aboard were gone, victims of a tragic crash in the Calabasas hills. But Kobe's final day tells a story deeper than tragedy. It reveals a man who had found his true calling in life's second act. A father's Sunday ritual, 6 a.m. While most of the world slept, Kobe was already moving through his morning routine. The same discipline that had driven him to 5 championships now fueled his role as a father of 4 daughters. He made coffee quietly, scrolling through game film on his iPad, not of NBA players, but of young girls working to master the fundamentals. Gigi found him in the kitchen around 7:30, already dressed in her Mamba Sports Academy gear. "Ready for today, Dad?" she asked, grabbing a quick breakfast. Kobe smiled, seeing himself in her competitive fire. "Always ready when I'm with you," he replied, a phrase that had become their Sunday tradition. The morning was spent reviewing game plans for Gigi's team. Kobe had transitioned from studying NBA defenses to analyzing youth basketball strategies. His attention to detail remained obsessive. He knew every player's strengths, every opponent's tendencies. "Basketball is basketball," he often said. "The fundamentals don't change whether you're 13 or 33. Vanessa captured a quiet moment of them on the couch, Kobe's arm around Gigi as they watched game footage together. It was a scene that perfectly captured his post-retirement life. The legendary competitor had become the patient teacher. The global icon had become the devoted dad. What strikes you more about Kobe's evolution, his seamless transition from player to coach, or his complete dedication to his daughter's dreams? His mornings had once been about preparing his own body for battle. Now they were about preparing young minds for success. By 8:30 a.m., they were gathering their gear for the trip to the academy. Kobe packed his coaching notes with the same meticulous care he once showed preparing for Lakers games. Every detail mattered. Every moment was purposeful. The Mamba Mentality had simply found a new expression. When champions become mentors, 9 a.m. The helicopter ride to the academy was filled with basketball talk. Pilot Arazobayan, who had flown Kobe countless times, listened as father and daughter discussed strategy for the day's games. These flights had become mobile coaching sessions, where Kobe shared wisdom gained from 2 decades of professional basketball. "Remember, basketball is played with your mind first," Kobe told Gigi as they flew over the morning traffic. "Physical talent gets you noticed, but mental toughness gets you championships." It was classic Kobe, turning every moment into a teaching opportunity, every conversation into a life lesson. The other passengers on the helicopter were part of Kobe's extended basketball family. John and Kerry Altobelli, along with their daughter Alyssa, were longtime friends whose lives had become intertwined through youth basketball. Christina Mauser, an assistant coach, was someone Kobe trusted to help develop young female athletes with the same intensity he brought to everything. As they approached the academy, Kobe pointed out landmarks to Gigi, sharing stories of his own journey. "That's where I used to practice free throws at midnight," he'd say, or "That gym is where I learned that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard." Every flight was a history lesson in dedication. The helicopter that had once carried the Black Mamba to Lakers games now carried a father helping his daughter chase her own dreams. The transition was complete. Kobe had successfully reinvented himself from competitor to cultivator, from scoring points to developing people. Weather conditions were challenging that morning, with fog reducing visibility. Pilot Zabayan was navigating carefully, but Kobe remained focused on the day ahead. He was reviewing his coaching notes, preparing for the games where his daughter and her teammates would test themselves against worthy competition. The conversations during that final flight revealed Kobe's transformed priorities. Gone were discussions of personal statistics and individual accolades. Instead, he talked about team chemistry, player development, and the joy of watching young athletes discover their potential. The man who had once been basketball's ultimate individual star had become its most passionate team builder. Dreams taking flight, 9:30 a.m. As the helicopter navigated through increasingly challenging weather conditions, Kobe's focus remained entirely on the basketball ahead. He was mentally preparing for his coaching duties, thinking through rotations and motivational speeches he would give to young players who looked up to him as a basketball god. Gigi was reviewing her own game plan, asking her father about specific situations she might encounter. What if they press us full court, she wondered. Kobe smiled, remembering similar conversations with Phil Jackson decades earlier. Pressure is a privilege, he responded. It means they respect your game enough to try and disrupt it. The other passengers were equally excited about the day ahead. This wasn't just a basketball game. It was part of Kobe's larger mission to elevate women's basketball and provide young female athletes with the same opportunities and recognition that male players received. Every game was a statement, every victory a step toward equality. Christina Mauser was discussing defensive strategies with Kobe, two coaches united in their desire to develop well-rounded players. Kobe had handpicked his coaching staff based on their ability to teach fundamentals and inspire young athletes. He demanded the same excellence from his coaches that he had demanded from himself as a player. The Altobelli family represented the community that Kobe had built around youth basketball. They weren't just parents of a player. They were partners in creating an environment where young athletes could thrive. Kobe had learned that developing champions required more than just talented individuals. It required committed families and supportive communities. At 9:40 a.m., pilot Zabayan was in contact with air traffic control, navigating through fog that had become increasingly dense. The passengers remained focused on their destination, trusting in the pilot's experience and skill. Kobe was still coaching, still teaching, still preparing to help young athletes become their best selves. Have you ever been so focused on helping others achieve their dreams that you forgot about the obstacles in your own path? Kobe's final moments embodied this selfless leadership, completely absorbed in service to the next generation, even as danger approached. The conversation turned to long-term goals for the Mamba Sports Academy. Kobe envisioned a place where young athletes could receive world-class training, regardless of their background or financial situation. He was building something that would outlast his own involvement, creating a legacy that extended far beyond his playing career. As they flew through the challenging conditions, Kobe remained the eternal optimist and competitor. Weather was just another obstacle to overcome, another challenge that would make the victory sweeter. The Black Mamba mindset was still there, transformed from personal achievement to collective success, but as strong as ever. The moment everything changed, 9:45 a.m. The helicopter was struggling through dense fog as pilot Zabayan attempted to navigate the challenging conditions. Inside the aircraft, the passengers remained focused on their mission, unaware that these would be their final moments together on Earth. Kobe was still in coaching mode, discussing with Christina Mauser how they would handle the team's pre-game preparation. His mind was already at the academy, visualizing the drills they would run and the adjustments they might need to make based on their opponent's strengths. At 9:47 a.m., the helicopter crashed into a hillside in Calabasas. All 9 people aboard were killed instantly. The man who had survived countless battles on basketball courts around the world, who had played through injuries that would sideline ordinary athletes, was gone in an instant, along with his beloved daughter. The first reports came from hikers who heard the crash and saw smoke rising from the hillside. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but there was nothing they could do. The helicopter had struck the terrain with devastating force, leaving no survivors. As news of the crash began to spread, the world struggled to process the unthinkable. Kobe Bryant, invincible on the basketball court, larger than life in his retirement, was gone. But perhaps even more heartbreaking was the loss of Gigi, a young girl whose basketball dreams had been nurtured by the greatest player of his generation. The crash site revealed the devastating finality of the tragedy. Investigators would later determine that the pilot had become disoriented in the fog, leading to the fatal impact. Weather conditions that had seemed manageable had become deadly in a matter of minutes. In those final moments, Kobe and Gigi were together, sharing their passion for basketball and their love for each other. They died as they had lived in recent years, as father and daughter, coach and player, mentor and student. It was a tragic end to what had been a beautiful relationship. The timing felt especially cruel. Kobe had finally found the perfect balance between his competitive nature and his family devotion. He was building something meaningful with his daughter, creating memories and lessons that should have lasted for decades. What do you think hurts more, losing someone at their peak, or losing them just as they found their true purpose in life? Kobe's death came just as he had discovered that his greatest victory wouldn't be scored on a basketball court, but in the hearts and minds of young athletes he was helping to develop. When the world stood still, 10 a.m., the first social media posts about a helicopter crash in Calabasas began appearing, but few connected it to Kobe Bryant. The initial reports were vague, mentioning multiple casualties, but no names. The basketball world continued its Sunday routine, unaware that everything was about to change. By 11 a.m., rumors began circulating that Kobe might have been involved. The disbelief was immediate and widespread. How could the Black Mamba, who had seemed invincible for so long, be gone? Social media exploded with denials, hopes, and desperate attempts to verify information that seemed too tragic to be true. When the news was officially confirmed, the reaction was unlike anything the sports world had ever seen. NBA games were postponed, players broke down crying on live television, and stadiums around the world fell silent in tribute. The grief was immediate and global, transcending sports, culture, and geography. The Lakers game against the Clippers, scheduled for that Tuesday, was postponed as the team and the city processed their loss. Staples Center became an impromptu memorial site, with thousands of fans gathering to leave flowers, jerseys, and handwritten notes. The outpouring of love was overwhelming and immediate. Other NBA players struggled to find words. LeBron James, who had just passed Kobe on the all-time scoring list the night before, was devastated. Michael Jordan issued a statement calling Kobe his little brother. The basketball community had lost not just a great player, but a bridge between generations. International tributes poured in from every corner of the globe. Kobe's impact had extended far beyond American basketball. He was a global ambassador for the sport, fluent in multiple languages, and beloved in countries around the world. His death was mourned from Los Angeles to Italy to China. The most heart-wrenching tributes came from young female basketball players who had been inspired by Kobe's advocacy for women's sports. Through Gigi, he had become a powerful voice for gender equality in athletics. His death represented not just the loss of a basketball legend, but the loss of a champion for the next generation. Have you ever experienced a moment when the entire world seemed to pause and grieve together? Kobe's death created one of those rare occasions when humanity united in shared sorrow, regardless of nationality, race, or background. The tragedy resonated beyond sports because Kobe represented something universal: the pursuit of excellence, the importance of family, and the power of reinvention. His death reminded everyone that life is fragile, that greatness is temporary, and that the relationships we build are what truly matter. January 26, 2020, revealed the true measure of Kobe Bryant's life, not in championships won or records broken, but in the love he shared and the lives he touched. His final day epitomized his transformation from basketball legend to devoted father, from individual superstar to community builder. The tragedy that claimed 9 lives that morning reminded the world that greatness isn't determined by how we achieve success, but by how we use that success to lift others. Kobe had found his greatest purpose in his daughter's dreams, his highest calling in coaching young athletes who would never reach his level of fame, but deserved the same level of dedication. His death came just as he was hitting his stride as a mentor and father. The man who had once been consumed with personal excellence had discovered the deeper satisfaction of developing others. The Black Mamba had evolved into something even more powerful. A teacher, an advocate, and a symbol of what's possible when talent meets purpose. The global response to his passing proved that Kobe had transcended basketball to become something larger, a representation of the relentless pursuit of excellence that inspires people in every field. His work ethic, his attention to detail, and his refusal to accept mediocrity became lessons that applied far beyond sports. Gigi's death, alongside her father, added another layer of tragedy to the story. The world lost not just a basketball legend, but also a young girl whose dreams had been nurtured by that legend. Their relationship had become a symbol of how sports can bring families together and how passion can be passed from one generation to the next. The helicopter that crashed that morning was carrying more than passengers. It was carrying dreams, ambitions, and the future of women's basketball. Kobe's final mission was to elevate the game he loved by ensuring that young female athletes received the same opportunities and recognition as their male counterparts. His legacy continues through the Mamba Sports Academy, through the young athletes he inspired, and through the conversations about excellence that he started. The Black Mamba may be gone, but the Mamba mentality lives on in everyone who refuses to settle for less than their best. Kobe Bryant's last day reminds us that heroes aren't defined by their extraordinary abilities, but by their willingness to use those abilities in service of others. He died as he had learned to live, completely devoted to developing the next generation, finding his greatest joy not in personal achievement, but in shared success. In the end, Kobe Bryant got exactly what he had spent his retirement building. He died surrounded by the basketball family he had created, chasing dreams that were bigger than himself. The Black Mamba's final day was perfect in its purpose, tragic in its ending, and eternal in its impact.